So I'll be starting from where I stopped in the last class. In the last class, I was able to show us how to pull in our data from the SQL Server and from flat files. So the first eight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the first six queries here were gotten from our SQL Server, and then the last two here we're able to get them as flat file from the folder shared with us. So today I want to start from the first exercise that I gave the class, how to change the name of our query, how to promote our first row to be the header and some other things. So that's what I want to do today for the purpose of those of us that haven't finished the first assignment. So we're starting from the first assignment now. Okay, so here we are in our Power Query Editor after getting our data from different sources. So at the moment we'll be working with these 8 queries here. We'll be working with these 8 queries, and the first thing that I want to do now is to rename. I'm starting with the dim employee query, is to rename the dim employee query and change the name to salesperson. We can either just right click on it here and rename, or I can just hover to the right hand side of my screen here and change the name to salesperson. I'll press the enter key. So I've been able to change the name of the query here. Okay. So the second thing I want to do now is um, to show us how to choose a specific columns, how to hide other columns that we are not going to be using in our analytics. Okay, so to do that, I'll hover to where I have my choose columns here. So I have the choose columns. If I click on choose columns, it will allow me to select the columns that I want to see here. At the moment I'm having 33 columns, 296 rows, so maybe I don't need to work with the 33 columns here. I just need selected columns to work with. So I'll click on choose columns, and from my choose columns there, I'll also select choose column because I want to select specific columns. But in case I want to just jump to a particular column, at the moment the active column here is the employee key. But if I want to jump to another column, I'll just come here and do go to column. So let me do go to column and let us see what it will happen. So after clicking on go to column, I have a list of all the 33 columns in my salesperson query here, in my salesperson table here. So from here I can come up here and rearrange. I don't want the natural order. I want everything arranged alphabetically so that I can easily scan through and select the column I want to jump to. So for now, let's assume I want to jump to the salesperson flag. I'll click on it, then I'll say OK. So it will jump immediately to the salesperson flag. Okay, so that's how to make use of choose column and go to column. We want to go to specific column, so I can go there and say I want to go to salesperson flag. Same thing here. If you look inside our salesperson flag, we have false, 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 and true. It seems that we have like a boolean operator in place here. But if I want to filter, at the moment I have 296 rows, right? If I click on this drop down arrow beside my sales flag, at the moment I have everything selected, false and true. So let's say I only want to see true. I will uncheck false, and if I click OK, it will only show me the rows with salesperson flag data as true, and it has been able to prune down my 296 rows to 18 rows. So it's possible that what I want to do in my analytics is just to work with the true data for now. Then instead of just having everything in my Power BI for my reporting and the creation of my dashboard, I can just prune it down here and filter and only select the set of data that I'm interested in. Okay. Also, don't forget I told us that we have the query settings pane here where we have our applied steps that is always recording all our moves. So if I want to undo what I've just done now, I can just click on filtered rows, then it will take me back to the number of rows that I want there. Let's go back to our choose column now and say I am interested in selected number of columns, not all the 33 columns. So I'll click on choose column, and from my choose column I only want to select a few, so I can uncheck everything. I can as well do the same thing I did the other time. I can arrange everything alphabetically. Then I can just come here and select, let's say I'm only interested in employee key, I'm only interested in employee national alt key, I'm interested in the first name, I'm interested in the last name, I'm interested in title, I'm interested in title, and I'm interested in email address. So let me scroll up. I'm interested in email address. So I've selected the 6 columns I'm interested in. If I click OK now, check our bottom, we have 6 columns and 18 rows here. So if you look at it now, I've been able to prune down the data. So I can do that over and over again for different queries or tables to select the column that I love to work with. So I haven't done this now. Let's see how to rename our headers. Let's see how to rename our headers or how to merge our headers. If you look at the columns there, I have first name in a separate column. I have last name in a separate column. So let's say I want to have the two in the same column. I want to merge the first name column and the last name column. So what am I going to do? I can hold down my control key, click on the first name, click on the last name. Then after doing this, I can right click and say merge columns. I can right click and say merge columns. If I click merge columns now, it's asking me, what is the separator here? If I look, I have my first name and last name. I'm trying to match 2 names. So I should have, let's say, a space in between the 2 columns. That is what I want. And I want the new name column to be written as merged. So I don't want that. So I want the new name to be written as salesperson. Let's say, so it will now be salesperson, then I'll have the first and the last name together. So if I click OK now, let's see, we no longer have first name and last name. We now have, oh yes, we now have, I think I matched 3 columns. Let me undo. Okay, so I mistakenly added the email address. So let's see, let me do that again. I'll press my control key and select the 2 columns and then merge. So I'm merging. I want it to be, use a space, and then it should be salesperson. Then I'll say OK. So I no longer have 6 columns, I now have 5 columns because I've been able to match the first name and the last name, and I'm separating the first and the last name using a space. So that's how to merge columns in our Power BI. So the next thing I want to do now is to rename my column. I can change the header here. So if I come here now and double click on it, it will allow me change whatever name that is there to what I want. Because one of the best practice is using a header name or a table name that you can always relate with, because at times you'll be working with hundreds of tables and columns. You need to be specific. Use names that you can easily relate with. So for this one, I want to change everything to employee ID. I want to change everything to employee ID. Then I'll press enter. So that I've been able to change the header name. I want to also change the email address. For example, let's say I want to change the email address from email address now. I want to change it to UPN, for example, user principal name. So let's say I want to change it to UPN. I'll double click, write whatever I want there, and click enter. So if you look at the bottom here where it's showing up the status, I have my 5 columns and 18 rows here. So we can always check here to be sure that yes, we are still in line. Maybe you have a number of rows you want to work with or a number of columns you want to work with. So that's how to merge columns, how to change the column name, how to go to columns, how to select specific number of columns that you love. Okay, I'll move away from the salesperson query. I'm moving to the dim employee sales territory, and also we want to start by changing the name. I did this earlier, so I'll just run salesperson region is what I want to change it to. I want to change it to salesperson region. I want to remove the last 2 columns. Let me check the number of columns that I have here. I have 4 columns, so I have 2 columns there. Maybe I'm not interested in these 2 columns for now. I want to get these 2 columns off. I only want to have 2 columns there. So how can we do that? Your guess is as good as mine. I can come in and I can just choose the columns that I want and uncheck the last 2 columns. And the last 2 columns are dim employee and then the dim sales territory. So if I say okay now, I've been able to remove them from my Power Query, meaning I don't want to work with them for now. It's not that I've actually deleted the columns from my database. No, I'm just saying for the report I'm about working on now, I don't need them. So I've been able to remove the last 2 columns and I have 2 columns here. So if I also want to change the header here, I can just double click on it and change. I can double click and write any name I want there, just like I've done severally. Okay, so I'll move away from the salesperson region. I want to work with the product, so I'll click on the product, then I'll come to this end and I'll write product, and I'll write product, then I'll press enter. So I've successfully changed the product name to products. Now on the product query, so to rename the product, dim products, I've done that already. So we'll type the new name here and press enter to change the query name from DM product to product. Okay, so from the product table, what I want to do here is I want to locate finished goods flag and then retrieve only products that are finished goods, meaning that are true. So I can come here because I have like 40 columns there. So I want to just quickly go to a particular column. So I want to go to finished. You can actually search as well. So I've typed finished goods. So it should take me to that column. So I'm now here on finished goods column. So I can click on this drop down arrow and uncheck false, meaning I'm only interested in finished goods now. So I'll click OK. So from the 199 plus rows, more than 397 rows, now I've been able to prune it down to 397, showing me only goods that are finished. So I've been able to do that. Also, I want to remove several columns from here and only select 5 columns. I'm only interested in 5 columns, so I can start by unchecking this. I want to easily locate my file, so I can sort that way. So I want the product key, I want the English product name, I want the standard costs, I also want color, then I want dim products subcategory. So I've selected the columns I'm interested in. So from 40 columns now, I've been able to prune it down to 5 columns. So we now have 5 columns to work with. So let's look at this dim product subcategory. Unlike other columns, columns, we can read the data we have in other columns. But here it's saying value, 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 value. It contains value link, which means it represents a related table, And for us to see the columns that are also attached to this dim product subcategory is to click on the icon to the right here. So let me click on the icon to the right here. So the dim product subcategory, it's a table on its own, and in that table it has a list of all these columns. So from the dim product subcategory, I want to select the few columns that I'm interested in here. So I will uncheck all. I'm only interested in English products subcategory name, and also the dim product category. So if I select the two, and it's asking me use original column name as prefix. What that means is that, take for example this English product subcategory name. If I should leave it as it is, then it will write the name for that column as dim product subcategory dot English product subcategory name, and that's just too long. So if I uncheck it and just say OK, so instead of look at what we have here now, we can now see the value for the English product subcategory name. Still look at the dim product category that we selected. We still have values there. Meaning I can still expand this, and then maybe what I need there is just the English products category name. That's just what I want there. So I can uncheck this, then I can go to what I want there. Maybe I want the dim product category. Maybe that's what I want here, or I want a dim product subcategory here. So then I'll say OK. So look at our dim product subcategory. We have tables in there that we can still go ahead and expand and select what we want there. So this is just to show us that yes, we can have related tables as column in another table. So for example, we have dim sales territory, we have fact resellers, we have dim resellers. We can also have this as a column in a database with all its own columns too. So all we need to do, if we need to work with selected columns there, is to just open it up and choose the columns that we want to work with, So here now, I only want, what do I want here? I want an English product name category. So I'll remove this. English product category name. Let me paste that. Product subcategory. English product. I already have English product subcategory. So I say product category key. If that is what I want to get out of here, I can just click on it and I will have the content here. Okay, so I want to rename some of my columns here. I want to rename them. So I can come here and say I want to rename English product name. I can double click it and then change it to product. I want to rename standard costs. I can scroll to where I have standard costs. Maybe I don't want it to be all joined together. I want to space it out. Then I can space it out and say OK. If I want to rename English product subcategory name, I can double click on it and change it to subcategory. The same thing for my I need English product category name. If that is what I want, I can come here and say okay, add more to the list of columns that I want. I already have this. What's that? Okay, so I can rename just like I have done here. Again, if we need to go back and undo some of the things that we've been able to do, we can still do it. Just click here and go back. For example, let's say I want to go back and renew some of the tables that I've been able to expand. Look at what I've done there. So let's say I still want to remove this also. I can do that in the applied steps. It will take me back. So I have my subcategory here. If I bring this out here now and I say I want English product category name, English product category name, if that is what I wanted, then I can just say okay. Then I have the English product category name, so I can rename that to category. So now I have my 6 columns and 397 rows to work with. I'll leave the product. I want to work with the reseller here. So I won't rename the dim reseller the way I've been doing. So I'll just right click here and click on rename. Then I'll remove the dim. I want something I can really understand. So I want to get off the dim. So I've been able to rename it and I have my reseller. So instead of having the 22 columns, I want to do the same thing we've been doing. I want to select just 4 columns. So I can uncheck this and then carefully select the columns I'm interested in. I want the reseller key, I want the business type, I want the reseller name, and I want the geography. I want the dim geography. So I'll click that and say, okay, I'm only interested in four columns here. If you look at our geography, you see that it's also a related table. So I can expand this. I can expand it and select just the columns I'm interested in. I want city, I want state, province name, and I want English, country, region name. Then I'll say OK. So now I've been able to expand and get out 3 columns from that table. So we now have 6 columns and 701 rows there. So I've been able to expand that. If we look at the business type, we have warehouse. Some warehouse spellings are space in between, meaning where space then house, and some are written as just one value, and that will affect my reporting because it will be saying where space house as a different data from warehouse as one word. So if I want to make sure that I have the same spelling, the same arrangement for my warehouse, I can change a particular data wherever the data is featured in my column and replace it with another value. So to do that, I can come to my business type here. If I come to my business type here and let me show us so that we'll know that we have warehouse and warehouse there. So look at the value. So we have this warehouse and we have this warehouse, and it should be the same thing really. It should be just warehouse without the space. So when I'm trying to find out something about warehouse, I'll get a complete data. So I can right click on my business type and say replace value. So if I click on replace value, it will ask me value to find. So I want it to find this particular warehouse and replace with the warehouse without a space, and replace it with the warehouse without a space. So if I click OK, now it will replace all the warehouses with space with the warehouse without a space. Let's check now. So look at what we have here now. So we have just one warehouse. So that's how to find and replace in case you need to do something similar to what I've done. So let's do some renaming again. So I want to rename my business type. I want it to have a space. I want to rename the reseller name. I just want to say reseller here. I want to rename the state province. I just want to say states province, state hyphen province there. Then I want to rename the English country region name just country region. So what I'm doing is just to clean, transform my data before the actual reporting is done. Okay, so here now, after completing this step, I have my 6 columns and 701 rows, which is what I should have. So I'll jump from the reseller, I'll go to the dim sales territory. Let's rename it to region. Let's rename it to region. So I've renamed it to region, and I want to filter the sales territory alt key. I want to filter it to only show me all the numbers except 0. So if I come here now and say I don't want to see 0 here, and I only want to see 1, 2, 3, so I'll be able to remove the row with 0. So we've done that before. I want to filter. So I want to remove all columns except just 4 columns. I only want 4 columns there. So we can as well remove. We've been using one method since by just selecting. So let's say I want sales territory key, I want sales territory region, and I want sales territory country. So let's say I don't want to see this now, so I can just right click and say remove. I'll still be able to get it off there. I can just come here instead of doing it one after the other. Why not just select all the columns you're interested in: sales territory key, sales territory region, sales territory country, and sales territory group. I will say okay. So I'm only interested in this set of columns. I want 4 really. So let me just undo and go back and select the 4. So let me do that again. So I'm interested in territory, I'm interested in region, I'm interested in country, and I'm interested in group. So 4, right? Yeah. So I have my 4 columns now. I want to rename the sales territory region to just region. I want to rename the sales territory country to just country. I want to rename the sales territory group to just group. Okay, so let's verify that we have 4 columns and 10 rows. Yeah, so we have our 4 columns and 10 rows. So let's move to the sales factory seller. Yes, let's rename it to sales. So I've renamed it to sales. So let's remove all columns. We have 21 columns, 21. So we only want sales order number, we want order dates, we want product key, we want reseller key, we want employee key, we want sales territory key, we have order quantity, unit price, total product cost, sales amount, and then products. You notice that this then products, when we get there now, you will see that it's a table on its own. We've worked on the product table earlier, so let's select it and let's move on. So let me show you what I just said. So look at our then product. It's a table on its own. So let's expand it and select just the standard cost column from there. So if I click this, I can come here and select the standard cost. That's what I'm interested in. So I'll be able to select the standard cost from the list. So now we've been selecting, removing, changing name. Now we want to do something else. We want to create a custom column. We want to create a custom column, and I'll tell you why we are creating a custom column in a bit. I'll tell you why we're creating the custom column in a bit, right? So how do we create a custom column? If we'll to create the custom column, we will hover to the add column, and we'll say custom column. So I've clicked on custom column. Then it's asking me, what name should I give my new column? I want to give it costs. And what do I want to do to generate the value for that column? Once I get out the column, I will explain why we are creating a custom column. Okay, so here I can put the formula here. So in the formula, what I want there is I want to type if the total product cost equals null. If there is nothing there, then my order quantity multiplied by my order quantity multiplied by standard cost, else just leave it as total cost. So what I want to do, don't worry, let me click OK now, and let's see the new column. So we've been able to create this new column. And why are we creating this new column? I'm saying, look here, we ought to have the total cost here, right? And we do not have the total cost. And for us to get the cost value of what we're talking about is to multiply the standard cost by the order quantity. So if this person is buying one and the cost of that thing is the standard cost is 1,898, then if you multiply it, it should give us what the amount the person is paying. So let's look at number row 2 so that we'll be able to understand what we're talking about here. Row 2, the person has ordered for 3. So if you multiply 3 by 1,008, that is why we're having this 5,006. So maybe the person handling that database forgot to give us this value, but I'm not manufacturing a value myself. I'm not manufacturing any value myself. I'm simply using items in my table to generate a column, because we should not be coming up with our own manufactured values really, but here we need to get this value from other columns that are present here. Okay, that I haven't done that, so we want to remove the total product cost and standard cost. So I can come here, I can right click, I can remove the total product cost, and I can as well come here and remove the standard cost, so that we only make use of the cost here. And I can also rename the order quantity to quantity. I can rename the unit price to unit space price. I want to also rename the sales amount to sales, to just sales, to sales. I also want to go to my quantity. If you look at the data type for quantity, it says a decimal number, and we should not have decimal number as quantity. You're buying in whole number, so I want to change it to whole number so that it will say all the values here as whole number. And one more thing that I would love to do here is to modify these 3 columns and change their data type to decimal. And what are they? The unit price. Yes, unit price, it should be fixed decimal number. So I can come here and say fixed decimal number. The sales also, I want to change it to fixed decimal number, as well as the costs. The cost is still fixed decimal number here. So I've been able to change all that to fixed decimal number, which will store values with full precision. And it also requires more storage space than just the decimal number. So it's important to use the fixed decimal number type for financial values or rates like exchange rates, because it holds values with full precision, and it stores and it requires more storage space, so we can have like dots, a long figure point, something that is really long. So it's better to use fixed decimal number rather than just the decimal number. Okay, so if you look at the column here now, we should have 10 columns, then 999 plus rows, because Power BI will just will show you the first 1000 rows. That doesn't mean that you don't have all of that rows there. Okay, so we're moving over to the sales targets. So if I click on the sales target, I want to rename it. I want to just give it targets. So I've changed it to targets, and we want to try something else now. We want to unpivot. We want to do unpivoting. So looking at this here, let's try and understand what we have here. Let's look at the months. We have months from month 1 to 01 to month 12. So instead of having the months as columns, we can unpivot it so that we now have it in form of rows, so that it will be easier for us to work with. Okay, so to unpivot it, I want to select the first two. I'm simply saying I don't want to touch these two, because I need to work with like 12 columns. So instead of selecting the 12 columns one after the other, it's going to take a long process. So I just want to select the first two and then right click, and I will now choose unpivot other columns, not the ones that I selected. So I'm unpivoting from month 01 to month 12. That is what I'm saying now. So I will only say unpivot other columns. If I click on pivot other columns now, look at what I have. So I have just 4 columns there now. So it's been able to unpivot my the month from month 1 to month 12. So I have the months arranged, then I have the value. So no, the columns now appear in the attributes column, yes, and the values appear in the value column. Okay, so I want to filter the value to remove the hyphens, so I can click here and remove the hyphens. Then I'll say okay. So I'll be able to remove all hyphens there. I also want to rename the attributes to month number. And then the value to the target. So you will now apply transformation to produce a date column. The date will be derived from the year, and the month number columns, and we will create the column by using the columns from example feature. So what are we trying to say? To prepare the month number column values, let us right click on it and then select replace values. So I want to remove all M there. I want to remove, we had M01 for month 1, M02 for month 2, but I don't want the M there. I just want to have 01, 02. So I'll say value to find M, replace with nothing, don't worry, then I'll say okay. So I now have the months as month 7, month 8, month 9, month 10, and so on and so forth. And I don't want it to be seen as figures, as alphabet. So I just want the numbers to be seen as whole number. I want to change the data type. So I've been able to change the data type to numbers here. I've been able to change it to numbers. Okay, now to create the column. So I'll go to the add column and I'll click want to create from example. We said we are creating a date. So from example, I'll click from the example. If I choose from the column from example, if you look at notice the first row is for year 2017, right? And the month is 7. So, and the month is 7. Let's take note of that. In the column 1, in the first grid cell, that we should now enter 7121. So I'm creating something from all the columns. Okay, so in my column 1, I want to type 7/1/2017 and press enter. So look at all the other dates now. We now have the dates typed out. Notice that the grid cell updates with predicted values. So the feature has accurately predicted that we are combining values from columns. So we are combining values from 2 columns, from the month and the year. So we have the month and the year here now. So I want to rename it from merged. I want to rename it and add it as target months. And as target months. As target months, then I'll say OK. So we have the target month and we can say OK. So I want to remove the month number and the year, since I have the dates that I'm interested in now. So I can remove that, and I can remove the year too. So I have the target month, I have the employee ID, I have the target, and I have when that employee should meet up the target. But I won't leave here now without modifying the targets as decimal number, and then the target months, I want it to be seen as dates. So I'll change it to dates. So it's now date. I can as well do some simple measure here now. I want to multiply the target by 1000. I want to multiply the target by 1000. So I can select the targets. Then on the transform ribbon, inside the number column, I can come here and click on standard, and then I'll choose multiply, because I want to multiply target by 1000. So you want to perform mathematical operation on a particular column, you can do it this way. So I'll click on multiply, and it's saying multiply by what? 1000, and I'll say OK. So I've been able to multiply my target by 1000 now. So maybe so I now have 200,000. Now I have 200,000, and in the status bar we have 3 columns, 809 rows, which is what we want really. So the last but not the least here, I want to rename the color formats query. So I'll click on it. I want to rename it to color. So I'm changing from one method of renaming to another. So it depends on what we want. So if I want to change it, I can come here and just change it. And if I don't want to change it, I can just leave it as it is and just leave it as color format. Let's say I just want it as color format. I'll leave it as color format. So you notice that the first row contains the column names. So here I have color, background color format, I have font color format, and my column has just column 1, column 2, column 3, which means that something is wrong here. I need to promote this, my first row, to be the header, right? So I can just come here and say use first row as header. So that, look at it now. I have my color here, background color format, font color formats. So in the status bar, let's check. We have 3 columns and 10 rows. We want to quickly go back to the product query. From the product query, I want to match the color format query on my home ribbon tab. I want to match my the color format query with the product query, we talked about append and merge in class. So we want to demonstrate how to merge now. So here I will come to my home ribbon tab, and from inside the combine group, this is my combined group, I'll locate merge. I hope we still remember the difference between merging and appending. So we want to merge here now. So I'll click merge query. I'll click on merge query. So if I click on merge query, now it will open a window for me to select what I am merging. So I'm merging my products. I'm merging my products. My products. I'm merging my products table with my color format. So that's what I want to do. So here I have the color column here, meaning I already have something that is probably common to the two. So, and beneath here, beneath the product query grid, I'll come here and select my color format. So I've selected my color format. I have the two tables here. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, and I have 1, 2, 3 columns here. If you look at it here, color is common to the two tables. So in the color format query grid, I'll select my color here. So I have my color here, and I have my color. I have my I can hold on. So it's asking me that the privacy level. So I'm not even don't sweat about that. So just can just ignore this. So there's nothing serious here. We're just playing with what we're doing here, right? So I can choose public, I can choose organizational. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that merge using this as the unique identifier. So if I just do this without changing anything here, it will just do the merging. But I can as well just come to the bottom here and still do certain things here. But let's say I'm okay with what I've done. Let me just do okay here, and let's see the table. So look at my product table here. My product table now has the color format table as a column. So I want to believe you now understand better the other previous columns tables we've been working with, and inside the tables you now have columns with something like this. It means that you have a related table there. So I can expand the color format here and choose what I want to see from the color format table. So what I want to see is the background color format and the font color format. So if I click on that, it will expand and show me the two columns. So in the status bar, let's check whether we have 8 columns and 397 rows. So we have that here. We're fine. So I want to update the color format query. So I can come here now. I think I left out the S. So the color format here now, I want to update it. In the query settings, in the properties, let's click on the all properties. I want to click on the all properties here, and in the query properties window, I want to uncheck enable load to reports. I want to uncheck enable load to report. Disabling the load means it won't load as a table to the data model. This is done because the query was matched with the product key, which is enabled to load to the data table. So that's the reason why I'm unchecking it here, and I'll click OK. So then we're finishing up. So let's verify that we now have 8 queries here: salesperson, salesperson's region, product, reseller region, sales target, and color format. Which won't load in the data model? It won't load. Next class, when I'm recording the video, we will see that we won't see this color format in our data model. So to load everything, let's say we are done cleaning and transforming our data here, our tables and everything here. We're done with everything, and we now want to move over to our Power BI desktop to now do some modeling or do whatever we want to do on it. Then I'll come here and click on close, and apply, close and apply, so that it will then take me to my Power BI. Like I just click on and it's loading up all my tables. My tables will appear here at the field, under the field section here. So this is the end of the first assignment that we were given, that we should try and change the header, promote the header, merge, and select columns, and do some other things. So we continue from here the next class. So the next video I'll be recording will focus on the last thing we did in the class, so that some of us that haven't completed the assignment can just watch this video and complete the assignment. So it's almost done now, so I'll just wait for it, then I'll stop the video for everybody to look at it. So one uploaded queries content there. Let's see what's that. I'm closing this. Okay, so we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Color format is not showing because we said it shouldn't load, right? That is why it's not here. So for those of us that have been able to complete this up to this stage, then we are fine. So let's continue with the next assignment on data modeling, so that I will record the next video and share with us, let's say tomorrow, right? Okay, have a nice day. Bye.